Hey peeps, Emercina here. Well, Melissa. I actually don't really want to use Emercina here because this video is going to be a very, very personal video to me. It's something that I struggled with after my second child, my daughter, was born, which ironically enough, I am filming in my daughter's room because her room has the best lighting, and I am filming in front of her window. It took me forever to get ready for this video. I had no preparations whatsoever for this video. I don't have a sheet of paper on my lap or in front of me. All I have are a box of tissues, my batteries, and I have my phone. That's basically it. I want to do this video in a way that I am going to talk about my experience first, and then I'm going to go on my social medias and answer any questions that I get, because I posted on Facebook, I posted on Instagram, I posted on my Tumblr. Ask me anything and I will try to get to it as best as I can in this video. I have been wanting to do this video for a very long time, for months. I was scared. I'm going to just start from the beginning. So I have 4 children. After our second was born, which is our daughter, my firstborn is 7, she's 5 right now. They are born 18 months apart. She's about to have a birthday in a few months. I want to start from her pregnancy. I don't know if I'm gonna cry, which is why I have a box of tissue. I don't know where this video is going to go. I just want to warn you guys beforehand that I have no clue. I'm just gonna go with what I feel and what I think at the time. My daughter's pregnancy, I believe, was the hardest pregnancy I've ever had. I was pretty much miserable. I gained weight so quickly. I do believe that I was already going through some bouts of depression while I was pregnant with her, even though I didn't know it. I ate junk. I ate whatever I wanted at the time. I wasn't feeling connected to my husband at the time. We were going through some rough spots. It just all out sucked. Sometimes I'm like, why do I say that? I'm such a terrible mom if I say that. It's like, no, sometimes you're still a good mom, even if you're like, oh my gosh, this was horrible. This was a horrible experience. I gained weight super fast. I had to slow down and be very careful with what I was eating, because I would literally borderline about to get gestational diabetes if I was not careful. That's how bad it got. I blew up to almost 200 pounds. Like, I was like 180, I think, by the time I actually gave birth to her. It was just a rough pregnancy. It doesn't mean that I'm a terrible mother. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person for thinking that or saying that. And I think a lot of people think, oh, you have kids, like you shouldn't be saying that about such and such. You shouldn't be talking about this and that way. And it's like, you know what? The same people that are saying that are the same people that complain about their jobs, that also complain about their lives, that also complain about, oh, this was a terrible book. But you know what? Why would you say something about a book that was so terrible? Like, how dare you say something about that book? You can kind of see what I'm getting at. I was terrified during this pregnancy. I was terrified about having a girl. I had never had a girl before. I was terrified about this pregnancy because everything was new to me, even though I'd already had another child. But this pregnancy was so opposite of my first pregnancy. I actually got induced. I chose to get induced. A lot of people do not like that. A lot of people are, you know, go as long as you can, even if you're 45 weeks along. And it's just like, no, at that point, if it's that long, to me personally, this is my opinion, nobody else's, then something needs to happen, or something's wrong, or something like that. I have gone to 40 weeks. I have gone to 41 weeks. 41 weeks is about all I can do. And that's just me. That's me personally. That's nothing against anybody else who don't get induced or, you know, hate it or whatever. I went in super early in the morning. We had a babysitter for my firstborn, David. I got the drip, I got the IVs hooked up into my arm and everything, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm just sitting in bed. I didn't have a horrible experience. A lot of people have horror stories, which I completely understand. Everyone's body is different and reacts differently to all of the medication or any medicine that you receive. So my experience was not horrific or a horror story. I'm hooked up, got the drip going. I don't really feel it at first. And then she ups the dosage or whatever, and then I start to feel it, and I'm like, okay. I got an epidural, but half of it worked. I could feel the pain on one half of my body on my right side, and I feel nothing on my left. And it was horrible and it was terrifying, and I was scared because I was like, wait a minute, but this is supposed to work throughout my entire, like, what's going on? Because with my first, the epidural worked fine, like it was just perfect. And then I started to push because, well, she's coming and she does not wait. Babies do not wait for anybody or anything, and they will come when they come, even if your epidural is not working. Which unfortunately for me meant that I had to feel most of the pain anyway. And then it was only after she came out that my epidural actually worked. And so I was basically numbed up right after she came out. But I want to kind of backtrack a little bit and go back to when she was coming out. When I was giving birth to her, I felt like something was wrong. Not something wrong with her, something wrong with me. I couldn't get this feeling out of my head, and I couldn't understand it. I didn't know why I was feeling like there was something wrong, but I can tell you literally the moment that she came out of me, I panicked in my head, because as soon as she came out, I literally felt nothing. I felt no love. This is gonna be hard for me to say. Like, I literally had no emotions towards her whatsoever. I felt nothing. Like, there was just literally nothing going on. I felt numb, not just because of the epidural. It was a mental numbness that I didn't know why it was there. I immediately thought, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Why am I not feeling love? Why am I not feeling this connection with her? Why? She is my child. She is the baby that literally just came out of me. Why am I not feeling any type of way towards her whatsoever? I had this going on in my head the entire time afterwards, and I watched them, put her on the bed, clean her up, blah, blah, blah. I was taking pictures of her. I was taking pictures of her with my husband, but I was terrified because I was like, is this normal? Am I supposed to be feeling like this? Am I a terrible person and a terrible mother for feeling nothing? For feeling... that's all I could say, is for feeling nothing. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It was horrifying to me at the time because all I felt was nothing, and I was scared that I felt nothing, and I thought that that made me a bad person. I thought that made me a bad mother. I thought that made me the worst person in the world. I held my daughter in my hands, and there was nothing. I didn't feel anything towards her. But I didn't say anything. I thought, maybe this might pass. This feeling of nothing would just develop into love, would develop into something, would change, And I was like thinking in my head, I was just like, maybe it's just hormones, and it's gonna go away over time. It'll be okay. I had hope, or at least I created some kind of hope or excuse in my brain that it's all okay. I think you're gonna be all right. You've got this. But that nothingness terrified the shit out of me, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say, and I didn't say a word to any of my doctors or my husband. All I knew was that I was scared. We got home, got settled. The newborn weeks were so hard. I am the type of person where I do not do well with a lack of sleep, a lack of anything really, because it's horrible for me. I do not like the newborn stage, honestly. It's the hardest, most difficult stage to me. So I got home. I had this brand new baby, my daughter, my beautiful, beautiful daughter, full head of hair. she was just precious. But I didn't feel the connection. I just couldn't connect as hard as I tried. I couldn't connect to my daughter, and I didn't know why. I would feed her, I would change her. She was a very vocal baby. Every time she would scream, I'd basically, even if it's not screaming, it would be crying. Like, even if she cried, I would not want to be there with her because, I don't know, I just ran. I would take care of her, but I didn't like it. I didn't like her screams, I didn't like her cries. Everything bothered me about the whole thing, the whole situation. You know, I'm like feeding her and taking care of her, but I'm still feeling this nothingness and scared to death. I started to really shrivel and stay inside myself. There were times when my husband would be home, I would just go to the bedroom and go under the covers of my bed because I felt like the world was coming to an end and everything was on my shoulders and I was collapsing. I didn't know what it was. I had all these hormones going on, but I still had no emotion really except for sadness. I started to become depressed. I started to drift away from my husband and my kids. Like, I had a short fuse. I was not the best person to be around. I kept getting so upset about so many things. I would just spout off whatever was going on, I would just blow up at, and I had such a short fuse. I was not patient at all. I was not me. I was not me. I was not myself after she was born. I was a completely different person, and I did not know what was going on. I kept telling myself that it's going to be okay. It's going to pass. Just needed a couple more weeks. And as time went on, as the weeks and the months went on, I was like, I don't want medicine. I don't need medicine. I don't need to see a doctor. And I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I felt like I was treading water with everything that I did. And I couldn't understand why everything was so hard. I just became shriveled up and I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know what was going on with me. But also I think I kind of knew, but I was lying to myself that I was okay. I thought that I could do some things and maybe that feeling of nothingness would go away. That if I continued to take care of my daughter, despite all of her crying and stuff and everything about her that just kind of irritated me, that the nothingness would go away, that I'll eventually feel again. My days started to become hazy, and they started to mesh together. My son, my firstborn, noticed I was changing, and that terrified me. I was just like, who am I? And it's like, why do I still feel nothing after all these weeks and after all these months? Like, I'm supposed to feel something. Like, why am I not feeling anything? Like, what is wrong with me? And I felt that something was wrong with me all this time. I just kept lying to myself, and I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And I didn't feel like myself. I wasn't myself. And I felt horrible that a lot of things were going on, and I felt like I couldn't control anything. And there were times that my husband was like, is this postpartum? like, what's going on, because even he knew something was wrong, something was off, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, all I know is that I was ashamed to tell him that I felt nothing. That throughout that whole time, I felt so ashamed, because I felt like I was a horrible person, and that I was a horrible mother, and that I was a horrible wife, and just an outright terrible person, like the worst person in the world. And I was so hard on myself, and I was like, why is this happening to me? Like, why can't I be normal? Like, why can't I just feel something? And it just got worse and worse, and I didn't know what to do about it. And I was like, something is wrong. Like, something is wrong with me. Something is wrong in my brain. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. All I know is that something is wrong. And finally, after a couple months, I was just like, I can't keep fighting it anymore, because all I did was fight with myself, fight with my brain every single day since she was born. Breastfeeding was so hard. Everything was so difficult. And I wanted to give up so bad with everything. Like, all I wanted to do was just lay in bed and do nothing. But I couldn't, because my husband's at work, and I didn't have a lot of friends that were able to help, or family, or maybe I did and I just didn't. I think we had moved. Yeah, we moved actually. I moved further away from family and friends, so it's just like we're in a new town. There were times that I just felt like I wanted to die, because I felt so horrible about who I was becoming, and I was scared. All these years later, my husband told me, he's like, he told me that when he would go off to work, that he was worried. I lost it when he told me that, because I didn't know that he thought that. He was so worried about me when he would go to work, and because he wanted to help too, but he didn't know how to help. I was just as scared as he was. I never did anything to our children. Do not hear me say that. I never did anything to our children. He was worried about me though. No husband should ever have to worry about the mother of their children like that. Our breastfeeding journey was really hard. I breastfed for 2 months, and then I switched her to bottles. We realized that she was a bit lactose intolerant, so she had to have special formula, and WIC refused to cover it, and it was expensive formula. They wanted us to put her on soy milk, and we said no. We didn't want her to be on soy. So her entire first year of life was actually pretty hard, because we had to pay out of pocket for this expensive formula that she needed. And there were times that we were so tight on money that I didn't eat so my children can eat. We understand going without, having a negative amount in our accounts. We understand going hungry. I mean, heck, Doug even understands being homeless. He was homeless for a time. This was before we met. But anyway, a couple months after, I was like, I've had enough. I am so tired. There is something wrong. I have got to go to a doctor. I cannot live like this anymore. I can't live in fear of myself. I am tired of fighting. I am just so tired of everything. Like, I was just so tired. We went to a doctor and I got Zoloft. It took a few weeks to adjust. Maybe about a month after I started taking it, when my body finally adjusted and stuff like that, I felt like I was on the ground again. Like my feet were planted on the ground. I didn't feel like my head was in the clouds, so to speak. I didn't feel like my head was foggy. My head was clear for the first time in God knows how long, and I felt better. My mood swings and stuff settled down. I felt, not overnight, not overnight, but they settled. They started to be less and less. I felt like me again. I started to feel happy. And it was weird because I hadn't felt happiness in a really long time. I hadn't felt like me in so long that when I started to feel like me again, I had honestly nearly forgotten what that felt like. I felt such relief. Honestly, I felt such a relief. I was like, I can breathe. I can function again. I can be me. I can work on myself. Zoloft isn't for everybody, but it worked for me. And I was on it for a good couple of months, I think. I don't remember if I was on it for a year or not. I really don't remember, but I was weaned off of it. Like, I weaned off of it right before I got pregnant with my third. When you are feeling the lowest of the lows and you have hit that rock bottom and there's nowhere else to go, you feel like you're backed in a corner. You feel like you were just this teeny tiny person in this corner. Just, it's terrifying, it's horrifying. Feeling that nothingness, that something is wrong with you, that you are a horrible, horrible person and human being for not being able to feel any amount of emotion towards your child after they are born. There is already so much crap that mothers and fathers have to go through, and their mental health is literally on the back burner of every hospital and person that you meet. Okay, so maybe not every person that you meet, but you understand, nobody treats mothers and fathers and their mental health like something that's, they just treat it like, meh, it's normal, it's meh, it's not really happening, you'll be alright, it's alright. There is such a stigma attached to, if you have postpartum depression, you are a terrible person and a terrible mother. Like, if you have postpartum depression, how dare you have postpartum depression? If you have postpartum depression, can't you control that? Can't you control what you're, what you're feeling and all that? If you have postpartum depression, oh, that's not a real thing. That's not real. It doesn't exist. If you have postpartum depression, you should be able to work through it, right? With no medicine or anything like that from a doctor. Like, you don't need doctors to help you with that. And it's like, no. Sometimes it is perfectly, and I am going to stress this out so bad because at first I did not want to go to a doctor. I will admit it. I did not want to go because I was like, I'm going to work through this. I can do this on my own. But once I realized that I could not do this on my own, that what was happening to me with my postpartum depression was not my fault. It is not your fault. Don't you ever let somebody tell you that, because it is not your fault that is going on with your body and your mind. Do not let anybody tear you down about this and make you feel horrible that you are going through depression, postpartum depression, or any other mental illness at all. Do not be or feel ashamed that you need to go to a doctor. If you feel so strongly that you have given up, that you are so exhausted of fighting, of trying to make it through, of trying to tread through the water, do not be ashamed that you need to go to a doctor. Do not be ashamed or feel ashamed that you need medicine. If you need medicine and you want medicine and you are like, you know what, I need to go and get some medicine because I feel like this is not, like something is wrong and I need help, do not feel ashamed or be ashamed that you need help. Don't let the stigmas of all of these people in this world that are putting everybody with mental illnesses in a box, especially women with postpartum depression. They treat women with postpartum depression, nothing is going on, that it doesn't exist. Oh, you'll get over it. Why are you not over it? why are you like this? You should be able to control it. And it's like, no. I tried to do this on my own, okay? I tried. My husband can tell you, I tried, and I was ashamed of everything that I was going through, of all of the nothingness that I felt, and all of the stuff that I was, I was crying. I cried so much while I was going through all of this. And I was so freaking hard on myself, and I just tore myself down more than anybody else in this world can. I literally tore myself apart with guilt because I had postpartum depression. We do not need anybody else in this world tearing us mothers down for having postpartum depression, whether it's just mild or severe or anything in between. We tear ourselves down enough. We tear ourselves apart enough. We are just as horrified with everything that we go through with postpartum depression. Without the world judging us and telling us that we are horrible people for what we're going through, that it's our fault. I hate it when people who do not understand truly any kind of mental illness or postpartum, there's a lack of care for mothers after they give birth. Not just physical care, but mental care. There's a huge lack of it in this country, and it is a big problem. Then we turn around and blame the mother for having it, for going through depression or postpartum depression, going through the feelings of nothingness and the ups and downs and the craziness. You feel like you're flipping crazy. It's not my fault. It's not your fault if you've gone through this or are going through this. It is not your fault. It is not my fault. It has never been my fault. And I always thought it was my fault. It is not our fault. It is something that happens to us, not just with the hormones. It's something more. It is something different. It is something raw and real and scary and so flippin' terrifying that it is ravaging a lot of the mothers who don't know what's going on, who don't have a support system. And I admit, I didn't reach out to anybody after she was born because I was so ashamed. I felt so shameful about what I was going through because society has you believing that it's a shameful thing to go through, that you should be ashamed of yourself. How dare you have postpartum depression? And you know what? Fuck that. Because that is the type of mentality and societal standards that we should not have, and we should not have to go through or even think at all. And that pisses me off so bad. I know I'm kind of tearing up right now, but it pisses me off so bad. I look back on everything that we went through, the good, the bad, the ugly. Oh my God, the ugliness of it all. And it's sad. Nobody shouldn't have a support system. Nobody should have people around them blaming them for what's going on with them. If somebody had a physical illness that you can see, would you blame somebody for having cancer? Would you blame somebody for having a disease? Like, how fucked up is that? That people are blaming people with mental illness for having a mental illness. And I know I said that first mental illness phrase wrong. You understand what I'm trying to say. We don't blame people with physical abnormalities or diseases or cancers or anything like that. Somebody with a physical impairment, we don't blame them for that unless you're a piece of garbage. If you're a piece of garbage person who goes around telling people with physical abnormalities or cancers or diseases or anything physical that you can see that they're going through, and you're sitting there blaming them for that, what kind of a person are you? That says more about you than it does about the person going through that. And it's the same thing with people with mental illnesses. The person with schizophrenia is not to blame for having schizophrenia. A person with Alzheimer's, would you sit there and blame that person with Alzheimer's, I'm probably saying it wrong, for having it? Would you blame a mother who just gave birth and is going through postpartum depression like crazy? Would you blame her for having postpartum depression? And if you do your research. Look in the mirror before you start pointing your fingers at somebody else, because that really says more about you than it will ever say about the person that you are pointing fingers at, that you are laughing at, that you are terrorizing and breaking down and bullying because of something that is not entirely in their control. We need better people in this world. We need people who are understanding, who are loving, whether or not you have a physical thing going on or a mental thing going on. We need to stop kicking each other when we're down. The lack of support that women have in anything, especially mothers, our mental health is the most important thing besides your physical health. I mean, when your mother is not at her physical best or her mental best, when you are not at your physical or mental best, doesn't your day just go to absolute shit? I mean, I have days where I'm just not 100% and my day is crappy. And I can't compare that to having postpartum depression. No, because when I had postpartum depression, I hardly did anything. I didn't want to do anything. And if I did do something, I felt like I was carrying boulders on my shoulders. I felt like I was carrying the world on my back when I didn't need to. And I didn't know that I didn't need to. I didn't know that I didn't need to carry any of that. It wasn't my fault. And over time, over the years, as I kept working on myself, even when I was on the Zoloft and everything, I learned I love my daughter. I still love her. I feel love for her now. That period of my life was really, really dark. I partially made this video to help myself heal in a way from it, because honestly, I never truly healed from it because it was so traumatizing. It was so traumatic to me. I also feel guilty that I went through that. And it was more than just heartbreaking. I felt like I was just foggy 24/7. I didn't know what was going on with my brain, with me. I felt ashamed. I am not ashamed anymore. And I don't want you to be either. It is not shameful to have postpartum depression. It shouldn't be shameful. And all of these stigmas behind having postpartum depression or getting postpartum depression, it doesn't create an atmosphere for us to be the best mothers that we can be. It just doesn't. Having that environment kills people even further. It doesn't help. It doesn't give anybody support. I want you guys to know, please hear me. Do not feel ashamed if you're going through postpartum depression or if you have gone through postpartum depression. I didn't talk to my husband. I didn't communicate with him very well or at all. I felt like I was just gliding through everything, and there were times where I had met all of my daughter's needs and all of my son's needs, and my daughter would still cry, and I had thoughts of, I don't want to hold her. I don't want to hold her because I was terrified of the nothingness that I was feeling towards her. I wanted to feel love. I wanted to feel happiness so bad, but I was terrified of holding her because I felt guilty about how I wasn't feeling happy or loving or any of those things that I should be feeling after having a baby. I'm gonna go on my social medias and see if there are any questions. Nothing on my Tumblr. Let me go on my Facebook. I don't think I have, let me go on my Instagram. Oh, I do have a question from Free in Her Wilderness on Instagram. When did you realize it started? Post PPD after birth? Yeah, that PPD is postpartum depression after birth. I believe that it started right after, like literally right after she came out of me. Ooh, sorry. When did I realize it started? You know, I realized that I'd felt nothing right after she had come out of me, but I didn't realize that it was actually postpartum depression in and of itself. Probably not until like a few weeks after she was born, honestly, because I didn't make the connection. I was so wrapped up in, oh my gosh, I feel this way. Why am I feeling this way? This isn't normal, right? Like, why am I going through all of this? I don't understand it. And then I was like, no, it might be. But then I still didn't go to a doctor until months after she was born. I don't think I have anything else in my social. I think that was basically it. I think I got through everything that I wanted to say and share with you guys. Oh my God, this is such an intense, this is such an intense subject that I really hope that this video helped you guys in any way. I needed to film this video. I wanted to film this video to share my journey, to share what I went through, to share my feelings and my thoughts. Maybe this will help you guys, and I really hope it does. And if you have fellow women in your life who are going through this or have gone through this, and you can share this video with them, and I hope it helps them too, and that they pass this along to other women. I just, you know, at the end of it all, it is not our fault. And it's okay to say. It is okay to talk about it. It is okay to find help, to get help, to have medicine. Whatever you want to do to help you work through this. And I know it is so hard. God, it's so flippin' hard to crawl yourself out of this. And I know that if you were going through this right now, I know, I've been there. Whatever you're thinking, I've thought it. Whatever you're doing, I've done it. I know. And I understand. And I hope, if you want, I hope that you are able to have and get the support and love and whatever else you need to help you through this. I needed to do this video to help me heal as well. And okay, I'm glad that I did though. I feel like I can breathe. You know, when you get a lot of things off your chest that you've been holding in for a long time, or you've just kept, you know, in journals or within your relationship or something, like you just kept it close to your heart for so long, but then you have this need and this drive to share it with others. And I just really hope that this video has helped somebody in this life. Those of you that I know and those of you that I don't know, I really hope that this video helps. I really hope that even though the subject of this video was postpartum depression and what I went through, that you enjoyed this video and that it helped you and that it made you feel that you are not alone, because you are definitely not alone in this world. People just don't talk about it. People don't want to talk about it. People are ashamed of talking about it. And I had to grow past the point of being ashamed, of feeling that shame. Because society tells us you have to feel ashamed. You can't talk about it. You shouldn't talk about it. Why are you talking about it? You're a horrible person for what you went through. It's like, you know what? Screw what everybody else is saying and doing. This is okay to say. And it will always be okay to say. and okay to talk about, as it always should have been. I hope you guys have a really good day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.